So there's some interesting things going on in the world at the moment. What do we got? We've got Ireland, which has its own complete freak of nature representing it in the Eurovision Song Contest. This thing with horns, a trident and other paraphernalia, including the rainbow flag. I don't know if it's actually meant to be trans or not. I couldn't give a shit, but it's sending out so many dodgy signals that, to be quite honest, anybody with a brain in their head in Ireland is quite embarrassed, as Herman Kelly has quite rightly pointed out in his Twitter. Then what have we got? Ireland now starting to come around and deciding they want to off-hire, kick out, divorce some of these new to the reservations because they've realised just how incredibly bad they are. All that being said, that's an upbeat part of the story, but you never know. If Russia gets its own way, then, well, it might nuke half the planet anyway. I say that with a joking because we've had this before. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, there were people that went and finished up work on a Friday, didn't even know if there would be a work to go back to on Monday, and spent the entire weekend in absolute fear, thinking that the Russians were going to go and launch against the Americans. And here we are many years later, with the Americans, or NATO as it is, still completely pissing off the Russians and threatening to give the proxy war country Ukraine, which has absorbed more money than a coke-themed Hollywood party on a weekend. Seriously, the amount of billions and billions and trillions now, isn't it, they've gone into that place, and for what? Apart from to wipe out a generation of its fighting men, and all for what? Because NATO want to push ever closer towards Russia and piss them off, because the only war is a good war, or war is good, or most nation states now that are anything to do with the globalist ideology are in a perpetual state of war in some way or another, because that's the way of rinsing out money and turning money from the taxpayer over to the rich elite through the washing machine of war. You might want to look into that. Fletcher Prout, he explained it back in what it was like in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and there have been many other much more qualified and well-experienced people than myself who will explain to you how the process of war is to make the taxpayer and obviously the proletariat pay, I should say, for this thing, and the money, because it goes to weapons that are made by the people that are pushing this, their companies and everything else to do with them. This money gets distributed to them in one way or another. It's a bit like foreign aid. I remember Give Us Your Money by Bob Geldof, and when we actually now look back and find out just how much of that money actually made it to the people that needed it, you'd be astounded. I was shocked. Yeah. And then I realised it was a load of bullshit. Well, and then you got people that a friend of mine said, he said my brother at the time was incredibly left-wing. He went out to Africa building wells for these poor people, and he said he'd come back 3 weeks later and everything had been dug up and sold for arms. He said you'll never know a person that went from left-wing to right-wing as quick as him, but he did. And why? Because he saw it with his own eyes. And this is the key thing that many of the left haven't seen up until now. They've been told this, you know, you want to be caring, you want to be lovely, you want to be all this sort of stuff, and yes, they did, and they were hoodwinked, lied to. But I'm telling you now, when these people wake up in their droves, as they are now, you won't see anger like you've seen from this bunch when they realise they've been used, abused, shit on, and taken for a bunch of idiots. They're not going to be happy at all. I mean, there'll be some die-hard woke, you know, these people, their entire life is based on wokeism. They won't really want to put that, well, they won't be able to put it down because they don't have any other skill. But I've been realising that there's not a lot in the news to be upbeat about, which is why I haven't put much out. So I thought the way I'd approach the news rather than just paint it all as doom and gloom, is mock the fuck out of it. Because here we are. Let's be realistic, right? There's all this shit going on around the world, but when you look at it, you still wake up every morning, and as long as they haven't been out and spraying the skies, which they do, you might even enjoy a bit of sun. I did the weekend. And do you know what? I've stepped back a touch, and I got myself a motorbike, and I got myself a convertible as well, right? By the way, before all of you think I'm earning good money off YouTube, which you probably will with that, slowly but surely over the years, I've borrowed off friends, right, for a loan for vehicles, and I've slowly paid that back. And when the sale of those vehicles, which also I lost money on because of all this modern day technology that makes us a green planet, right, when it breaks down, costs you a lot of money, so I had to sell the vehicles. What I've done is I've managed to trade to where I am. No great money was ever exchanged, so sorry about the misconception that YouTube ever make any money, and if any of you do YouTube and are monetized, you'll know exactly just that. But it's funny, there's another guy that's come out and said that there is no actual credible evidence at the moment that says that anything that we are doing at the moment is also tied into global warming, because he goes on from the last mini ice age till now. And if you went to dates, you could go right back and you would see that the planet has done this all the way along. And just because we're there at the moment means it will go back. And no amount of taxation by the globalist wankers telling us that we're useless feeders and that the cows in our fields are actually adding to pollution and they want to destroy all the farms. No, they want to own the production, the means of production to everything, and then they want to make you beg. And all because they've realised that they overstood the mark probably 40s and 50s, and they kept overcooking the financial structure, if you want, of the planet, okay? And they've got to such a fucking stage now that they realise they're going to lose control of it. Now, they did all these experiments, as I've explained before, and every experiment came back that eventually they lose control of what they have at the moment, which will mean, eventually, I'm assuming, that they will, I don't know, come to some sort of justice, maybe lose all of their money, who knows? The problem with these people is they don't play very well, they don't share very well, they're not very nice. And there are some that, if the thought of them losing their money and us actually being able to get a fair cut, nothing more than that, we don't say that we want to take all their money and just take it for ourselves. We don't say that at all. We just said, shouldn't there be a bit more fairness? Well, the very thought of you lot being able to actually take more time off and actually being paid more money and being able to afford, as a young person, to go out and get a house and do all the things that many people could do years ago before they fucked a lot of this up, right? The very thought of you actually being able to have any sort of life kills them. They hate you. They hate everything about you. They enjoy your suffering. That's how they get off. These people are devil worshipping wankers. They love your misery. And the very thought of you actually being able to enjoy your life a little bit more than you do right now because of reasons, it will kill them. They just won't get a cope. Some of them will, I don't know, just have a meltdown and shuffle off this fucking mortal coil. And others of them will want to get to the button and push it, destroy it for everybody. If I can't have it all, you're not having none of it. But the fact of the matter is, long before these people actually get anywhere near those buttons, the people who actually are paid to protect said buttons will have worked that out. And these people will be nowhere near. So, you know that I'm not, if I can't fucking win, I'm taking my ball home. That's not going to happen in this case. And this is why they're doing their best to ruin the planet as much as possible for us, okay? And when I say ruin it, ruin the social fabric of said planet, alright? Because they hate us. And they're losing. But that will become more apparent as we go forward. So I thought to myself, what we need to do is, if we're going to talk about a bit of bad news, we need to talk about the positive of the future. So at the moment, what do you do when you're away from the doom and gloom? When you're not working, what do you do to have a break? Because if you become too absorbed in this, you'll be unwell. It happens to everybody. Nobody is immortal. Nobody is immune. Everybody has anxiety, worries, fears, and all the rest of it. Sometimes you need to take a step back, because if you became ill, mentally or physically or whatever, you're no good to yourself or anybody else. So me at the moment, I'm taking time, I'm meeting up with new people, going out on the bike with them, just doing different stuff and having a little step back. And I can't tell you how much it's done for me, although because I overdid it in the first few days of the weekend because it was a long weekend. I then couldn't sleep at all Monday night. So all Monday night, my body went into, you're not going to sleep. The mind was just flat out all night, and I didn't sleep until probably about 3 o'clock, Tuesday afternoon. That doesn't happen very often. And it's usually when I've had too much fun over a weekend. Although I was responsible Monday. It's a weird thing. Anyway, that's it. But no, we're back to work. And yeah, I think we need to be able to take the piss out of things, because so many times over the last, I don't know how many years, have we thought that we were on the brink of something, and it hasn't happened. And the dark side of the people that run this planet use fear to keep us all where we are. I mean, if everybody woke up tomorrow and said, do you know, if we all fucking stood up now together, they wouldn't be able to do a thing. But nobody does. And they rely on that. But they do like to put fear into you, so through the media, through films, through all sorts of stuff, and it keeps you as a good little worker, or a good little whatever. Sometimes when you step back and you have a bit of fun, you realise that life very much is worth living. And I have to try and get that through to us, because, I don't know, looking at it through a fresh pair of eyes sometimes wouldn't do you any harm. So, there it is. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. Long old day. And, spicy sausages. And I'll see you later. If you like the content I'm making and you want to support my work, here's a few links in the description, but only if you can afford it. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.